Malta, which has brought down 1,000 Axis planes in 3,000 raids, is a thorn in the Axis flesh. We saw Malta's value as a North African campaign developed in late 1942. Rommel in the desert, defeated and retreating, dependent for his life on supplies from Italy. While his tanks were burning and his men dying under the desert sun, he turned to Italy for reinforcements and supplies. Malta was our only base from which really effective offensive action could be taken against the enemy supply lanes. Malta, 1,000 miles away from Alexandria and Gibraltar, but only a few minutes flying time from the enemy aerodromes to north and south. It was essential to hold Malta at any price. I was one of those privileged to sail with the now famous convoy of August 1942. Looking back, it's fascinating to see how that action fits in with the great campaign that came later and is developing still. When we learned we were going to Malta, everyone felt it a privilege to be going to her aid. As our convoy assembled, everyone knew we were sailing on an action equivalent to an offensive by several armored divisions in land warfare. Most significant of the escort vessels for this convoy were the 4 large aircraft carriers. Vice Admiral Seifert was in command. His flagship was the battleship Nelson, and with her was the battleship Rodney. The escort for the final dash to Malta was to consist of cruisers and destroyers under the command of Rear Admiral Burrow. One Sunday night, the fleet slipped through the Straits of Gibraltar under cover of darkness. All day Monday, Monday night, Tuesday forenoon, all was quiet. We waited. On Tuesday afternoon, suddenly peace was shattered by a series of explosions. Great columns of water were thrown up as destroyers dropped depth charges. But the U-boat attack had been successful. The Eagle, an old but vitally important aircraft carrier, was sunk. When later in the afternoon, we received a report of enemy aircraft approaching, there was a general sigh of relief at the prospect of getting to grips and avenging her. Those Fleet Air-armed pilots knew their shipborne aircraft would have a tough proposition in competing against the shore-based bombers, but somehow they achieved amazing results. Here it comes. Through it all, through the colossal din, the great mushrooms of water as the bombs dropped, and the blinding flashes of our guns, through all that and many other things, left with one main... Those merchantmen in the middle, going steadily on and on, at times completely hidden by near misses, but miraculously reappearing through the columns of spray, and always doggedly and stubbornly going on and on. The attack continued till darkness. The flashes from our guns and tracer bullets lit the night sky. Now Wednesday. It was obvious that the enemy would, as we would be within easy range of his aerodromes. Fleet air-arm fighters were off at the crack of dawn. Throughout the day, they were almost continuously in the air as formation after formation came into attack. I won't attempt to describe that day in detail, because one attack is so much like another. Gigantic pall of smoke rising up into the sky from a merchant vessel that had been hit. The patches of flames where aircraft had crashed. As dusk fell, a terrific Stuka attack developed. A dive-bombing raid obviously carried out by picked pilots. When darkness closed down and gave us a somewhat modified relief, there was a disconcerting thought that the same darkness would be providing cover for the E-boats and U-boats whom we knew would be lurking near the Sicilian Narrows, which we had to pass before daylight. The convoy suffered, and so did the E-boats. It was an ugly, uncomfortable night, and I must confess to a sigh of relief as the dawn broke. Thursday now. The relief was short-lived. Almost with the first streaks of Thursday's light, back came the dive bombers and torpedo droppers in a final desperate effort to get the convoy on its last lap.